A couple days ago, I posted a video on the English red defense against the London system. And today we're going to take a look at the red defense now against a Queen's Gambit kind of structure, and let's see how it goes. To be more precise, we're going to take a look at the Lisbon Gambit. And just like any gambit, we're going to give away a material, one pawn, to have a massive lead in development and have the initiative, attack, and win. But before we begin, if you are new to the channel, welcome, I'm Victor and this is What the Fork Chess. If you are not subscribed yet, click the button down below and subscribe to the channel. I post videos pretty much every day here with chess tips for improvement in general. But let's jump right into it. So your opponent's going to play d4, but you can play the English red or the red defense against pretty much anything besides e4. You can play it against pretty much any structure. It's a very flexible opening, and you're going to go for this move d6 right away with the idea of playing e5 after that. So you establish this very powerful pawn chain here in the center. Your opponent's going to play c4 on a very similar to a Queen's Gambit type of structure. In the previous video that I posted about this, we took a look at when your opponent plays the London system, and now we're going to look at a different line. Your opponent plays a more Queen's Gambit style of structure. And we're going to go for e5 here. This is our move. Opponent's going to take, and we are not going to take back and trade queens. We're just going to develop the knight, and we're going to give away the pawn with the idea of having a massive lead in development, and that's what's going to happen. Your opponent's going to take this pawn, and we take back with the bishop, and we have two pieces developed against none of our opponents. So that's a fair trade for a pawn, right? We're trading a pawn for a very great lead in development, considering that we are playing black, so we should be half a tempo behind. Opponent's going to take, we take back with the bishop, and we now have two pieces developed against no pieces from white's side of the board. So they have no pieces developed. And of course, they're going to have to try to catch us in the development, and they're going to develop one of the knights. We're going to take a look at first the move knight f3, and then we can take a look at knight c3. But the principle is pretty much the same. We're going to develop very quickly. We have open lines here in the middle of the board, so we're going to place our rooks here. We're going to castle short very quickly. So the idea is to develop the knight, castle, and start developing all our pieces and developing a very powerful attack right from the start. We're going to have the initiative because we have a massive lead in development. Knight f3 is played by white, and we can develop our knight and prepare to castle here. More often than not, they're just going to develop one knight and then the other. So these lines are going to transpose pretty often. So here they're going to try and pin our knight. We can go ahead and develop our bishop here, waiting for them to try and push this pawn at one moment, and they are going to be pinning themselves. So if they do that, which is the very next move, we have that attack going on. h6 to kick that bishop. They're going to drop the bishop back. There are some lines where we just push here, but we have to be careful with that, not to expose our king too much. Queen e7 is a very safe play here, trying to come here with the bishop, attack this knight, try to double these pawns. And that would be double isolated pawns for white, which is a very bad pawn structure. Bishop e2 might be played here, preparing to castle short. And we can respond by just playing bishop b4, like I said before. And after castling, we can go ahead and trade, forcing white to have these doubled isolated pawns and then this isolated pawn on the a file. And these can be long-term liabilities for white, right? So after that, of course, we can go ahead and develop our rook, put our rook to the center. We are hitting the queen, so we are developing with tempo. And the idea is to bring the rooks to the open files and try to attack with the open files that we have, open and half open files. Of course, they're going to have to move the queen away, so they're not going to be captured. We put our rook in the center as well. And after, let's say, this move, we can go ahead and trade. This is not bad for us. Knight here is actually hitting this bishop. They have to do something about that. If they go ahead and try to take this pawn, no problem. We just push this, trying to kind of trap this bishop here. This is an idea that we might have. Okay, so this is one thing that we can do. Now we can try to go after this bishop in the a file, on the a file. So maybe this is an option. So it's a very simple game. We have a lot of development here. We are with the initiative. And we have some let's say weaknesses to explore here. Of course, our pawn structure is not the best as well, but this line is very much playable for black, and for just one pawn we can have a great lead in development and we can attack very quickly. And going back to this position, sometimes our opponent's going to develop the knight to c3 first. That's not going to change too much. We're still going to be developing the knight and castling short. This is just transposing to the same position, but they developed one knight before the other. So it's pretty much the same. We can keep playing the same moves. Bishop to g5, we can kick it away, or we can go ahead and develop this bishop over here. It's also possible. After they drop back, there are some lines where we attack it right away, or we can just continue our development and attack it later. We can bring the queen over here, try to come for this move. We saw that before. Bishop e2 trying to castle, we can attack. This is another idea that we can go for. Remember that you are weakening your king side a little bit, but maybe it's worth it. Bishop is going to drop back. If you want to trade, you can go for that, because you are probably assuming that your opponent's going to castle here, but they are not committed for that yet, so maybe you can just drop back. And our idea is to just trade the bishop for the knight here. That's one of the ideas that we have anyway. So after they castle, we can go ahead and trade. And we make this move knight to e4. We are hitting this, and it's a very nasty attack. So they have to make a move here to try and defend this. But by doing so, we can also continue our game, bringing our rooks to the center of the board. We can trade there, bring the other rook. This is a very playable game. We have a better pawn structure in this case. Of course, they can go ahead and try and grab this pawn at a moment, but we have a much better pawn structure. And for one pawn, I think that's very, very much worth it. So that's an opening that is worth taking a look at, the ret, or specifically here, the Lisbon Gambit, where we just gambit a pawn to get a massive lead in development and the initiative for a very fierce attack. If you like this video and you would like to see more like this one, please leave a like, comment down below. If you have a refutation or any suggestion, put in the comments as well. And subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, I see you guys in the next video.